Once upon a time, something amazing happened. It was like a dream that actually came true. My sister-in-law, Mary, and I received a huge gift of around $300 million, and we were given our very own company to take care of. It made us feel so happy and surprised when the people who worked with us saw Mary celebrating because our dad gave us a lot of money. They started talking quietly to each other. Those people were really happy, and Mary proudly said she doesn't make noise. This is when my husband gets the company, and $3 million after hearing that one of the workers burst out laughing. My older brother was sitting next to his confused wife. He was reading a paper that the lawyer had given him. My brother looked really pale and scared as he read the paper. When he showed it to her, she screamed because of what she saw. "My name is Lucy, and I'm 29 years old. I work in my dad's business. When he was young, he started a company from scratch, and it grew into a good-sized company. Lots of people worked there at the beginning. He didn't have much money, and even when I was little, I understood that it was tough for him. Even when the company got bigger, I wanted to help my mom. She did office work. My parents wanted me to go to college and choose my own job, but I wanted to work for my dad's company. I thought about that a lot after I finished high school. Bob, who had worked there for a long time, taught me a whole lot when I joined. He taught me the basic things about running a business. He treated me like a regular person, not like the boss's daughter. I learned many things about the company from him. My brother Tom is 2 years older than me. He went to college to learn how to manage a business. He liked telling his friends that our dad had a company and he would be the boss one day. His friends asked him, "What will you do after you finish college? Will you find a job?" Tom said there's no need to find a job. I'll work in our dad's company and become the boss, so I'll take my time to learn about managing. Until that happens, one of his friends said you'll be the next boss in the company, and then your life will be easy. "I wish I was you." Tom's friend asked, "You have a younger sister, right? Will there be a fight between you two about who gets to be in charge?" Tom replied, "Yes, I have a younger sister, but she only finished high school, and she's not into fancy things." His friend said, "You say that a lot. It seems like she's doing some work behind the scenes for the company. If you become the boss, will you keep her around?" Tom said, "Of course, as long as she listens to me." My brother spent money and had fun pretending to learn about business. He knew his friends liked him because he would be the future boss. Many women wanted to date him because of that. My brother married Mary, who was pretty and liked to show off. They had a big wedding but a huge house and started their life together. Tom thought all of this would help him become the boss. Mary seemed really happy with Tom. He did everything she wanted and gave her all the nice things she liked. I knew she wouldn't want a life like mine, working quietly with my mom in the background at our dad's company. Whenever we sought each other out at family gatherings, Mary would look at me and laugh. She would say, "You don't look like the boss's daughter. You're not like the company president's daughter." I looked at Mary and said, "You know, I don't really enjoy living a luxurious life." She gave me a puzzled look as if she couldn't quite understand what I meant. She responded, "I feel sorry for you. You're the daughter of the company's president, and yet you seem to have no idea how to spend money wisely. You just live with your parents and have all this money, so you don't have to work as hard as others." My brother chimed in, agreeing with her. "It's true that Lucy has always been so down to earth. You wouldn't even guess she's the boss's daughter. She treats her co-workers just like regular people." I added, "Well, I must admit there are still a lot of things I'm trying to figure out about my job. Some of my colleagues are way better at certain tasks than I am, so I can't act like I have all the answers." My brother scoffed. "That's exactly why you're not making a significant contribution. A boss should have confidence so their employees respect them. You should let others handle the simple routine tasks." I said, "I guess at home, the only bosses are Dad and me." My mother, who had remained silent until then, came over to reassure me. "You're doing an excellent job at the company, which really helps your dad and me. Don't let your brother's words bother you." My father nodded in agreement, but my brother and Mary didn't seem to care about our opinions. They distanced themselves from us for over a month, clearly upset by our differences. Thinking back to that tough time, I suggested to my parents that Tom and Mary could say whatever they wanted. Even after that, my brother and Mary continued with their lavish lifestyle. They dined at fancy restaurants and went on extravagant vacations. They wanted people to believe that my brother was the future president of the company. During this period, my father was putting all his effort into expanding the business, but one evening he started complaining about chest pain. I became really concerned and told him, "Dad, are you okay? Just try to relax. I'll call an ambulance right away." He motioned towards a drawer and managed to say, "There's a letter for you in there. If anything happens to me, read it. The rest is for the lawyers." He lost consciousness before the ambulance even arrived. Despite the medical attention, my father never woke up again and eventually passed away. My brother and Mary were on vacation and couldn't make it for his final moments. They returned a couple of days later, acting as though their delay was inconsequential at the funeral. My brother casually mentioned that we're relieved we got back in time. Who would have thought that Dad would pass away while we were on vacation? I was taken aback by his nonchalant attitude. It was as if he didn't grasp the fact that my mother and I were left to handle everything on our own. Later on, I found a moment to speak to my brother privately so that none of our colleagues could overhear our conversation. "Did you have a chance to come home earlier?" I asked my brother, and he replied that I couldn't because I had already booked our flight back. He didn't say sorry, and then he talked to the employees. "Thank you all for your help, and from now on, trust me to take over my father's place in a good way." Mary looked at the quiet employees and said, "That's exactly what Tom would do. Everyone is amazed by him, right? It's expected given his dignity and a lot of pride." My brother asked me, "Lucy, isn't the ceremony starting soon? Please show us the way quickly." I was annoyed by my brother showing up late and acting so full of himself. Still, I led him and Mary to the ceremony meal table. My brother kept acting proud. As we ate, he said the quality of this food was questionable. "Lucy, this might lower our father's reputation as the president." I tried to calm him down, "Mom, and I already talked about it, and we agreed on the food. Besides, I don't want you telling me what to do. This is why people don't really understand what it means to be a president." He didn't just give me orders. He also ordered around the other employees who were serving. I rushed to stop him when he ordered Bob, a longtime employee, to do his bidding. "Tom, you're being quite bold. Don't be so rude to Bob. They're not just mere employees. You should show some humility," I said, trying to reason with him that these guys should respect me more. "I'm the president." My brother replied with a lot of arrogance. Mary joined in. "That's right. Lucy, stop talking back to Tom, the president of the company. If you don't listen, he can fire you. He has the power." Just as my brother and Mary were making a scene, a man appeared. He said, "I'm sorry to interrupt. Your father asked me to take care of his inheritance." He was the lawyer my father had hired while he was still alive. I remembered my father mentioning that he had a lawyer. It turned out that my father had thought about what would happen after he was gone. He had talked to a lawyer a few years before he became so sick. My brother and Mary got really excited when the lawyer mentioned inheritance. They welcomed him into their room with smiles. Tom said, "Thanks for coming. Let's get this done quickly. The sooner we finish, the better." But Wealthy was talking to the lawyer. My brother started crying. "Wasn't my father's inheritance worth $300 million? He said between sobs. Mary was thrilled to hear this $300 million. That's so much money. Having a company with that much money is like a dream. When the employees heard this, they started whispering to each other. Mary proudly announced, "Be quiet." This is the moment when the company and the $300 million passed to Tom. Hearing this, one of the employees couldn't stop laughing. My brother had gotten hold of the will and was reading it beside Mary, who seemed puzzled about what was happening. As he read the will, my brother's face turned pale. According to the will, the entire company is supposed to go to the oldest daughter, Lucy, he said, staring at the paper. He was shocked for a while, then started shouting, "This can't be true. This is wrong." In a serious tone, the lawyer said this is a will that's legally valid. My brother's voice became tighter and more strained. "I don't care about this. How can Lucy be president instead of me? Maybe Dad was just getting old and confused." The lawyer continued, "Yes, your father's judgment might not have been clear, A wild decision by someone who is not thinking straight might not hold up hearing this. I couldn't bear it any longer. I couldn't let these two people insult my dad, who was a good person. I couldn't let even family members bring down his reputation. My brother becoming president seemed completely unthinkable to me. My words seemed to anger my brother even more. "What are you saying? Are you trying to say I'm not good enough to be the president?" I replied without hesitation. "You're right. How can you lead the company if you've never really helped it? Don't be ridiculous." My brother protested. "Mary and I even built a huge house that's fit for a president. We went to great lengths to make me look the part." I retorted by building a mansion that's not suitable for someone in your position, or by spending too much money on fancy restaurants that's not good for the company's image. Money is important, but it's not the only thing. Besides, didn't Dad cover most of the costs for the house or any extravagant lifestyle? My brother challenged me. "How would you know all that I explained just before he passed away?" "Dad left me a letter. In that letter, he outlined all the money he had spent on you and mentioned that it would be considered your gift during his lifetime, so your share of the inheritance is practically nothing." Mary was alarmed when she heard this. "Hold on. Second, is this supposed $300 million inheritance already spent? That doesn't seem fair if we got so little from it." An employee who had previously laughed suddenly stepped in and told Mary that the $300 million came from the company's funds, not from personal assets. "I believe all of us employees here are well aware that the employee added can even be inherited." Mary wondered aloud. I informed her no. It can't. The money from the company isn't meant for the family to inherit, so I'm pretty sure that your share of Tom would be minimal. Mary was saddened by this revelation. That's really disheartening. I was shocked by the inheritance amount too. "Oh no, $300 million suddenly." My brother stood up as if he had a sudden realization. He shouted at the employees, "Do you really want your company president to be someone as plain as Lucy? You should believe that I'm more qualified. I have the same kind of charisma that my father had." None of his colleagues agreed with him. Bob stepped forward and began talking to my brother. "Your father was a charismatic man who started the company, but you and he aren't the same person. What you're showing is arrogance, not charisma." My brother grew angry as the employee calmly refuted him. "Tom, you might be part of the company, but we rarely see you actually working on his frustration." My brother argued that's because I don't have time to do any of the regular work. "I'm busy networking with others, and I don't have time for tasks anyone can do." Bob's continued, "Networking isn't everything. Lucy works diligently every day to understand the company better. She quietly handles her responsibilities behind the scenes." Bob's words seemed to resonate with everyone present. "I feel the same sincerity in Lucy as I saw in your father." "Lucy is the right person for the job," said Bob. Everyone at the company nodded in agreement. I was touched by their support and said thank you so much. I'm surprised by this sudden news, but having seen my father's dedication to the company, I care about it just as deeply as all of you do. I look forward to your continued help." The employees clapped warmly, and I bowed to them, deeply encouraged by the applause. I spoke firmly. "All of you here are important friends who have contributed to our business. Anyone who ignores your efforts is not fit to be an employee, let alone the company's president. Yes, even the president can be fired." My brother grew annoyed hearing this. "What are you even saying? I'm your brother." I responded, "I mean exactly what I said. You even mentioned that if you became president, you might fire me." He exclaimed, "How can you say this? I'm family." I remained steadfast. I can't keep an inefficient employee on the payroll just because he's related. This is completely absurd. He looked around, his face full of desperation, and pleaded for support from those present, but the employees simply stared back with cold expressions, realizing he had no allies. My brother and Mary left the scene. After that, Tom lost his job and relied on the small inheritance he had received. However, the funds dwindled quickly. He turned to me. "Can you lend me some money?" I rejected his plea. Disappointed by my brother's lack of effort, even after being fired, I firmly told my mother not to give him any money. His friends who had once supported him abandoned him when they found out he lost the presidency to his sister. Mary, who had expected to be the company president's wife, found herself in a tough spot. Eventually, they decided to sell their mansion. The money from the sale allowed them to sustain their lifestyle for a while, but with no income, their savings diminished rapidly. They reached a point where they had nothing left to sell and couldn't afford their living expenses. When they tried to find work, no one would hire them due to their lack of experience. Tom managed to get a part-time job at a convenience store, a role he was unfamiliar with. He faced criticism from younger part-time employees. Mary's situation changed as well. She couldn't continue as a full-time housewife. She joined a group of part-time housewives and worked as a cashier at a supermarket from morning to night, earning a modest monthly salary. On the flip side, I applied what I learned from my behind-the-scenes work to help the company. Bob and the other employees collaborated with me, leading the company to steady growth. My brother's situation unintentionally strengthened the unity among the employees. I made a promise to keep working with my mother to expand the business. Our goal was to bring more happiness to my father in heaven.